I need a with long hair like Mike Seatown. Released after Otogiriso, Kamaitachi No Yoru is a widely acclaimed 1994 title created by Chunsoft that has inspired many different creations over the years, either directly or indirectly. The game's original version was released on the Super Famicom, and tells the tale of a murder mystery that takes place within a real Japanese cabin pension called Pension Kanop in Nagano Prefecture. The game itself spawned fan games and games based on a similar structure such as Purgatory, Kamaitachi no Yoru 2 Another, Kamaitachi no Yoru Temptation, Hisame, 1999 Christmas Eve, and June Bride. And those are just the free games. Within Kamaitachi there are many different endings that give the game its unique personality. Completion of endings rewards the player with special bookmarks that act as progress markers. 100% completion of all endings rewards the player with the golden bookmark. After obtaining the golden bookmark, most players would likely assume they have seen everything the game has to offer and stop playing. But what if there was more? Within one of the ending scenarios, you discover a note that takes the form of a riddle saying there's a treasure located in the pension. The proper way to solve this without brute force is to read the second line of the text vertically, which reveals its location to be within the clock in the primary room. At first glance, this segment is nothing out of the ordinary of what you would expect from the game. However, if you use this tactic again on the third line of text after the cipher is revealed, you can see the word "tasukete kure" or "help me" written out vertically. On the next screen at the same location, the text vertically reads, "Reset here," if you read this kanji as it sounds and not for its meaning. At this point, if you press the reset button, this happens. The screen cuts to black, and text abruptly appears on screen. I do not know who you are reading this right now. Are you a child, an adult, a man, or a woman? Considering the demographic of the buyers of this game, a high school-aged boy is probably the most likely candidate. In any case, I sincerely hope that you are just an ordinary person who bought this software for the pure enjoyment of the game, and not one of them. I don't know who you are, but I am sure you know who I am. At the very least, you must have seen my name on the package or in the staff roll of this game. My name is Abiko Takimaru. No, I am the real author behind the person known by that name. That is me. My picture may appear on the package or in the manual, but it's not me. I am not one of them who speak my name. I wrote almost the entirety of Kamaitachi no Yoru in a room in Chunsoft's office, and I am writing this while pretending to be at work and under their watchful eyes. Yes, they are the employees of Chunsoft. To be honest, I started out as one of them, a Chunsoft employee. However, as I participated in the production of Kamaitachi no Yoru and the project progressed, I became aware of the true nature of this company and its horrific schemes. I, of course, tried to escape, but they seized me just as I was about to do so. Since then, I have been locked up in this room and forced to work. Conveniently for them, I had no relatives and few friends in society, so there would be no one to look for me. As soon as the job is over, I will be killed. So, as you're reading this, I am probably already dead by their hands. I have tried many times to escape from here, but each time I was caught and subjected to numerous tortures that I cannot even recall. I no longer have any hope of surviving, but I am writing this to tell the world about their conspiracy and how to stop it. I have hidden this message behind an ordinary game that can only be found by cracking the code so that it can be passed on to those from the outside without being seen by them. We thought we could pass the information on to the outside world without them seeing it. I wish I could put this message in the master ROM, but that is not possible in my position. At best, I would have to replace 1 or 2 cases of ROMs. I have no idea if anyone will ever receive this message, and even if they do, I have no idea if they will believe me. There is no guarantee that it will not be checked before shipping and destroyed by them. Let's not worry about that. I'll keep writing this in the hope that some good person is reading it. You have probably heard the term subliminal perception somewhere. Sounds too small to be heard, images too brief to be recognized, and other imperceptible stimuli influence the subconscious mind. They have attempted to experiment with this subliminal messaging in video games. The first of these was a game called The embedded messages were relatively trivial. The message was, Chunsoft software is fun. The idea was to ship the embedded message and the non-embedded software to different regions, and then compare the sales with the next release to see how well it sold. The results of this experiment were confirmed by the game Torn Neko's Great Adventure. The sales in the areas where the message embedded software was shipped were remarkable. Even at this stage, as you can see, there were still some commercial moral issues, but they were not really aiming for anything more than a modest business success. They wanted to brainwash the young people who would eventually become the future of Japan into becoming enthusiastic supporters of Chunsoft. By the time the children who played this software became adults, Chunsoft will be more than just a video game company. It will be a religious corporation, a political organization, and a multinational conglomerate. At that time, brainwashed youths will worship Koichi Nakamura as a god, vote for the Chunsoft party, and continue to play Chunsoft games like cripples while eating Chunsoft instant food. That is what they are all about, to control the whole of Japan in all aspects of the economy, politics, and faith. We know it sounds like a laughable story, but it is true. In fact, if you have played the software several times already, you must have a strange sense of trust in Shoutout. If you have played it less than 10 times, you have not yet been brainwashed. If you're reading this after 20 or 30 times, you probably won't believe anything I say. However, this is a fact. Someone please expose their conspiracy. It's simple. All it takes is one phone call to this number I'm about to give you. It is the number of my only friend who I can truly trust. Tell him everything. That's all you need to do. There is no danger. On the contrary, telling him makes you less dangerous. I thought about keeping quiet because I didn't want to scare, but that didn't seem to be an option. Even if I could slip this message into dozens of the games, they would eventually realize that numbers don't add up. Even if I could slip this message into dozens of software cassettes and slip it into a normal cassette, they would eventually realize that the numbers don't add up. Then it would be easy for them to trace the software back to the retailer. If you pre-ordered or bought at a small store, they will find you right away. If you bought it at a mass retailer and didn't pre-order, don't worry. They will be able to locate all your software within a month of its release. If it has been more than a month since you bought it, then you are definitely under their watchful eye. High-performance directional microphones, thermal imaging cameras, and the like are surely out there, watching you, right outside your room. Wait, don't even think about looking out your window. You'll be the perfect target for a rifle. Don't stand by the window. All you have to do now is crawl on the floor to the phone and call my friend. They are right outside wondering if they should cover your mouth now that you have found this message. There is no time. Once you make the call and tell them everything, they will kill you. So you must make the call if you are to survive. And if you don't do it fast, they will come. Pretending to be a newspaper collector, or posing as an electrician. Oh, I hear their footsteps outside. After this, all you can do is reset the console. A few years later in 1998, Shoutout would re-release the game on PS1 with upgraded graphics and new features such as the ending chart to make the game easier to play with all the different endings. The same steps can be repeated, except this time it says press select. The same thing happens again, except this time the author comes back and explains that he left a secret message in the original 1994 game to try and stop the conspiracy. You then get the choice of reading the original message from the first game or just skipping to the updated information. I am still alive. Perhaps I should thank God for that. In 1994, when Kamaitachi No Yoru was released for the Super Nintendo Entertainment System, I, the original author, managed to slip a secret document into one of its cassettes to stop a terrible conspiracy. Let's get back to the story. Of course, within a few days of the launch, my actions were discovered by them, and I was subjected to all sorts of torture in the company torture room. However, I am sure that the message reached hundreds of users, some of whom took action to stop the conspiracy. But it seems that Shout's ambitions were not yet been crushed. This time they are re-releasing Kamaitachi No Yoru as a PlayStation game. As a result, I was dragged out of my basement cell for the first time in 4 years to help with the porting process. Naturally, I could not use the reset button which had been hidden in the previous accusation document. I had no choice but to create a new hiding place by pretending to rewrite the text. How many users will find their way here? And how many users will get up? If this gets out, I'll be killed this time. All I can do now is pray to heavens for luck. I only hope that you, who are reading this right now, will survive and stop the conspiracy. Shoutout would release a sequel to Kamaitachi No Yoru 4 years after the PlayStation version called Kamaitachi No Yoru 2. This game takes a completely different approach and changes the series as a whole. I highly recommend Johan Oberg's video about Kamaitachi No Yoru 2 if you are interested in the production side of the game. In short, however, the game uses mostly the same characters from the first game, with the meta-framing of the first game not actually being real and more of a created production. You are called back by the game's author to meet the old crew from the first game again, and are sent off to an island with your romantic interest from the first game, Mari. Similar to the first game, there are tons of different endings to obtain. Progress is still marked with the bookmark system, there being the black, pink, and golden bookmark. Obtaining the golden bookmark like last time is essentially the mark of 100% completion. Huge shout out to Vita AWL on YouTube for releasing his golden bookmark save and showing really interesting content about Kamaitachi No Yoru 2. This made the process a lot faster. Getting this completion mark legitimately takes a very long time to do, and after it's done, most players would likely just stop playing the game. However, if you load into your save file again, some players would have this occur to them during the game's opening. The game seemingly glitches out, locks your controls, and presents you with 4 choices. A. Become cursed. B. Choose suffering. C. Caution. And D. Why you will die. Choice A does this. Please listen to me as I suffer. Please. There's a big problem in the memory storage layer of the universe. It is a Acacia record. It is a psychic. I cough blood, my head cracks. It is hard to get the brain out. My tongue is cut. I have written many things, so they make me write. There's a lot of obstruction, but that is inevitable. I contacted Mr. Sakihawa at the Ministry of Justice, but it went pear-shaped. There's interference. It was Christmas when I found the green-colored poison running on the airwaves on December 25th, and I knew Christ as the Messiah. I knew Christ as the Messiah too. Christ was also the Messiah. That's why they bled and ripped open the belly and took out the yellow ball of fat. It was like dissecting a frog. They controlled us, they really coerced us, and they even coaxed us into buying some pretty expensive programs. They were able to trick me into buying a very expensive program because they were slurping up some kind of spiritual light. If you can't hear the command to stop before you feel uncomfortable, or if you don't trust them, it's because you've got a cushiony membrane attached to the back of your head. So how can you remove it? If you can't hear or trust the command to stop while you still have the feeling, it's because you've got a paresthesia palliative membrane attached to the back of your head. Let me tell you how to remove it or break it. First, put some soft mud between the fingernails or the ring finger of your right hand. Then tie a chrome wire around your wrist and insert the other end into a tangerine. Insert it, or get a gouge needle. It will not bleed. It will pierce a little hole in the flank. It not bleeding is evidence that a cosseting palliative membrane is affixed to the back of the head. The fact that it does not bleed is proof that the irritation membrane has been applied to the back of the head. There is plenty of evidence. That is why I appealed to Mr. Sakihawa of the Ministry of Justice with evidence. The fact that he does not take me up on it is proof that I am right. But I am more worried about Mr. Sakihawa. It is they who take advantage of my kindness. So let's heed this warning. I have become Deguchi Onzaroburo. I have become Deguchi Ohinzaroburo. I'm going to get hit on the head with a whip. It is hell. It is very hellish. So be careful. I have become Deguchi Ohinmaburo. You will be shriveled up and your head will be broken. So be careful. I have become Deguchi Ohinsaburo. You will be shaken to pieces as your head will be broken. It is hell. It is very hellish. So be careful. If you cannot do such a thing, you are damned if you can. You can't help it if you're accursed. Cursed. It then abruptly cuts back to the main game. Choice Beat is a similar thing, except this time a blue head appears in the background. Unlike before, I could see something like an expression. Its eyes, its nose, its mouth, all told only one story. Resentment. A curse-like venom dripped from its face like sweat. She screamed. I don't remember exactly how I intercepted it and how I got back home. I found myself in my usual room with the TV screen in front of me. Hadn't you ever heard of Kamaitachi No Yoru 2 was a cursed game? Well, it didn't matter if I had or not. It's already started. I had heard rumors. The staff had told me they had heard strange voices. Some people had seen distorted human faces. It's a new direction, I used to say with a laugh. I had been staring at the monitor for almost an hour. Yes, just like you are now. However, my position was a little different. I was a scenario writer for the game. I was the first person to play it with a debug ROM for debugging. The production effects were excellent. It was going to be an interesting game, if I had to say so myself. When I first saw the figure, I didn't think much of it. I saw something flickering on the other side of the monitor. I looked over and saw nothing. When I started looking at the monitor, it appeared. It looked like a doll. It seemed to be asking me what I was doing. I was playing a game in front of the staff room of Chunsoft. It was after 11 p.m., but there were still some employees left, so I naturally assumed that it was one of them. Still, the reason it remained in my memory was because I had heard voices at the same time. I heard a gravelly whisper in my ear. I had no idea what it was saying. I looked around in panic, but there was no one there. From that day on, I began to see the doll more often. Behind the showroom of the store, in the window of the apartment building I looked up at, on the subway platform on the other side of the street, behind the table where I was eating. The man became bolder and bolder. He reaches his arm through a pile of documents, peering through the doorway of a room. Something like a finger appeared from the closed book. It was a vague bluish shadow. Through the shadow I could see behind me. Soon I began to hear their voices. It was that shrill whisper I had heard at first. I thought I was sick. I went to the doctor and was told I was neurotic. I had an idea. The deadline for Kamaitachi was approaching. Day after day the director scolded me, the producer yelled at me, and the programmers were sarcastic with me. I was tired. I got a mood stabilizer and went home. The next day, I invited a female friend to dinner for the first time in a while. It was on my way home. We found a print machine off the street that seems to have been left behind. I pressed the button, the print came out. Between her face and mine was the face of a pallid man. The image was Kamaitachi no Yoru 2, and I realized I knew who they were. They were corpses in a vast labyrinth of text. They were the characters killed in Kamaitachi no Yoru 2. Characters killed over and over again behind the monitor in various brutal ways. They were coming to take revenge on me and everyone else involved in the game. That's right. I heard a voice, and at the same time, a face appeared on the monitor. I couldn't tell if it was Midori, Mari, or Kayama. But I remember the sound of many people laughing and the feel of a hard, cold hand on my shoulder. And I was supposed to have disappeared. My name was erased from the staff roll, and only the name of the person who took my place remained. But I myself did not disappear from the game. I'm still here. Now, my story is over. If you hadn't heard them yet, you can still get there in time. If you haven't heard their voices yet. The game then abruptly cuts back to normal gameplay. Choice C cuts the music and shows this image for a few frames and then continues normally. The final choice cuts the audio and switches to a black screen with random images phasing in and out with screeching noises playing in the background. The right choice, you think. Whatever the case. Whatever the case, whatever the murder, it has nothing to do with you. You don't have anything to do with it, right? But it's not. From now on, from this moment on, you will really suffer. You are really frightened. You're terrified. The abomination that I saw at the end. The disgusting voice of it that gouged out my eyes. The sound of its shredded arm being sheared. The sound of its guts being pulled from its belly. It's yours. The game then cuts back to normal gameplay and continues normally. There is no mention of this anywhere else in the game, and people's attempt to contact Chunsoft or comment have led to nothing. However, if you use a cheat device on a hardware or a patch file in PCSX2 and use this code, you obtain access to a debug menu for the entirety of Kamaitachi No Yoru 2. Using this screen, you can warp to any section of the game, give yourself bookmarks, and view all the CGs and movie files among other functions. Within these files are many unused sections of the game and various random things such as crash handler messages. Within the SH directory, you can find all of the assets of the glitch sequence and find many unused or hidden files that aren't accessible in the main game. Looking at these assets, it seems to follow the story laid out in the second choice. We see the events of the story take place, such as the developer looking at the monitor and seeing the face, seeing the figure near him, seeing the figure near the apartment balcony, seeing the figure at the subway, seeing the figure at dinner, the finger appearing from the book, him going to the clinic to get checked out, the print machine, the picture of the machine printed out with the man appearing in the middle along him and his friend, the TV and the TV showing the various characters from the game dying, an up-close image of the figure, and then presumably the inside of a device that is to represent him being trapped within the game. The last slide is just a white slate. This debug menu is also present in the often forgotten third Kamaitachi no Yoru game, which includes the first two games. The background is identical to Kamaitachi no Yoru 2's